Hello, friends. What's up, me fans? This is Avery, and welcome to my channel. Today, I wanted to show you and talk about my me collection I made of my favorites so far. So, lately, I've been getting into me characters since I first started playing the Wii U for the first time, and the fact that my dad was originally planning on selling the Wii U during the pandemic, he decided to keep it so that we could play on it. And I gotta say, I'm glad he changed his mind, because I was actually planning on keeping it so that we could play Wii games again, in the Wii menu section. After watching countless videos of the Wii Party series on YouTube, it made me have ideas of creating what characters I want to play as in games like these. Now, I started creating me characters since my dad bought me the Wii U game called Wii Party U, just back in last year of December, and I'm really looking forward to playing as some of these characters in that game, and playing this game itself again after not playing it in about the last 2 months due to how busy it has been since what's been going on lately in 2025 with my grandparents in Indianapolis and all. Before I get into the characters I made, I should point out that when I mention about who the characters are supposed to be, and that the colors of their hair and whatnot isn't the same color as is by their appearances, that's because the Mii Maker doesn't have any other color options available in the Wii U back then, as well as the Nintendo Switch does until it was released. That's why I had to try my best to find the best closest colors for their hair and all. So whatever you do, just keep that in mind. Now, I won't go through every detail about these characters I created, so I will make it as brief as possible. And without further ado, let's get to it. As you can see here, that's who my dad created. Some guy named Mr. Weirdo. I have to say, he looks pretty cool, I would say. And that right here is me, Avery. My nickname is Ave, otherwise known as Ave the Brave. So I decided to nickname myself Ave for short. And the next three you see here is a trio of Animal Crossing characters. Now there's my man Tom Nook, Isabelle, and Villager. I'm looking forward to playing Animal Crossing New Horizons again once I restart it again for the second time due to various reasons, either in the southern hemisphere of this month, April, or September in the northern hemisphere, because I like to start in the fall now that I realize. Better than spring. Moving forward, next we have the Mario crew, and that here is Mario and his brother Luigi, and Princess Peach, the Princess of Mushroom Kingdom, and the jolly little mushroom toad. You can see the afro represents his head, and the red sunglasses shades represents the color of spots on his head. And there's Yoshi, the dinosaur-like amphibian. Scrolling down, and there's Mario's main enemy, Bowser, the King Koopa, and there's Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, and two of the naughty boys, as I would like to call them, Wario and Waluigi, and there's Princess Daisy and Princess Rosalina, and Toadette, Bowser Jr., and there's Goomba. The mustache you see right there covers his smiling teeth that's supposed to be his buck teeth on each side of the corners of his mouth. Then there's Koopa Troopa, Hammer Brother, Dry Bones, Boo, and the mustache goes the same for Goomba, covering the bottom of his teeth there. Then there's Shy Guy, and Monty Mole, and Birdo. The sunglasses, as you can see above her head, represents her actual head bow. And there's Pom Pom. And now for the Sonic team characters, we have my main favorite character of the Sonic series, Sonic the Hedgehog. And both of these characters, the sunglasses above their heads, represent the ears of the animals on certain different characters, so just keep that in mind. And there's his little buddy Tails. Then there's Amy, and one of my other favorite characters of them all, Knuckles the Echidna. Then there's the main enemy, Dr. Eggman, Shadow the Hedgehog, Rouge the Bat, his girlfriend I presume. Then there's Silver the Hedgehog, Blaze the Cat, his friend, Cream the Rabbit, Charmy the Bee, Espio the Chameleon. Next we have Vector the Crocodile, Big the Cat, Jet the Hawk, Wave the Swallow, Storm the Albatross, Mighty the Armadillo, Ray the Flying Squirrel, Styx the Badger from the Sonic Boom series. Then we move to the Disney section. We have Mickey Mouse and his buddy Donald Duck, the eyebrows and mustache on top of his above his nostrils represents his beak, and the beard the same color as well. And I had to blend in the lips of his mouth to make it all blend in together to make it into a beak. So now we have Goofy. The eyebrows represents his ears, and the glasses represents his puffy cheeks up front. And we have Minnie Mouse, Mickey's girlfriend in love. Then we have Donald Duck's girlfriend, Daisy Duck. And both sunglasses to these characters actually represents their head bows. And then we move on to the Wreck-It Ralph section. That's Fix-It Felix Jr. from the fictional game in the movie called Fix-It Felix Jr. and his villain and buddy in the movie, Ralph. Then in the same movie from Hero's Duty, that's Sergeant Calhoun, and another game in the movie called Sugar Rush, that's Vanellope. Then we move on to the Chicken Little characters, that's Chicken Little there. Then we have Abby, the sunglasses represents her buck teeth. And you can see those the craved mustache that's supposed to be the bottom of her beak. And then we have Runt of the litter. The mustache represents his pig snout, and the nostrils are his actual nose up front. Then we have Fish Out of Water. As you can see, his hair actually represents his helmet. So that's supposed to be his helmet, his tank helmet, where he breathed in the water in the movie. And he really doesn't have a nose. So I had to find the best ones and make it super small. So I decided to go with the tiny nostrils of his nose since it's really small. And that since he doesn't have a nose in the movie at all. Then we have Chicken Little's bully and currently former bully, Foxy Loxy. She's one of my favorite characters, too. Same as Abby Mallard and Fish. And there's Foxy's friend, Goosey Lucy. And there's Porcupine. And in the Toy Story section, that's Woody, Sheriff Woody, and Buzz Lightyear, his friends, and Jessie, his friends. Then from Zootopia, that's Nick Wilde, and that's Judy Hopps. And from Peter Pan, that's Captain Hook. He's one of my favorite villains by far. Pretty cool looking guy, I would say. Then now we move on to the Simpsons section. As you can see, that's Homer Simpson, and that's his wife, Marge, his son, Bart, his daughters Lisa and Maggie. And there's his friendly neighbor, Flanders, Ned Flanders. And there's his anti-villain, and I think that's his boss, Mr. Burns. And Mos Eisley from his bar shop, Moe's Tavern. And there's Bart and Lisa's friends, Milhouse and Nelson. Then we have Mr. Burns' sidekick, Mr. Smithers, and Homer's dad and the grandfather of The Simpsons, Grandpa Abe. And from a duo of Kim Possible characters, that's Kim Possible there, and that's her girlfriend, Ron Stoppable. And from the Proud family, that's Penny Proud, Oscar Proud, Sugar Mama, Trudy, Cece, and Phoebe. Next, we move on to the classic cartoons characters section. That's Popeye the Sailor there. And then we have Garfield and Mr. Bean, one of my current and newest favorite characters from both the live action and animated series. And we have Napoleon Dynamite. Whatever I feel like it. Then we have Steve Urkel from Family Matters. And I know Nana would love this. Betty Boop. Then we move on to King of the Hill characters. That's Hank Hill and his three main buddies, Bill, Dale, and Boomhauer. I think that's how you spell his name according to the spelling, as you could see. Take a look at it again. Yeah. Scrolling forward, we have Hank's son, Bobby, his wife, Peggy, and Luann, and Bobby's friends, Joseph and Connie, and the grandpa, and, of course, Hank's dad, Cotton. He looks super grumpy, I tell you. And then his wife, Nancy, and then we have John Redcorn, and there's Khan. He looks pretty cool. I like this character. This Asian guy character, Khan. Neighbor. And then we move on to the Jetsons section. That you see is George Jetson. His boy Elroy. Daughter Judy. And Jane, his wife. And the dog is Astro, and the robot maid is Rosie. And then moving to the Flintstones section, that's Fred Flintstone and his buddy and sometimes nuisance. If that's the best way you want to say it, that's the best way I could think of anyway and describe him. But his best friend, but sometimes nuisance, Barney Rubble. And there's Fred's wife, Wilma, and Barney's wife, Betty. And the daughter of the Flintstones, Fred's daughter, Pebbles. And there's Bam Bam. And the dinosaur pet is Dino Mutt. I tried my best to blend in the beard to make him look more purplish. So just keep that in mind. And those sunglasses are his cheeks. That's Baby Puss. And now we move to the Scooby Gang. That's Shaggy and his buddy, Scooby-Doo, Fred, Velma, and Daphne. And then we move on to an old show from the early 2000s, the Cramp Twins. That's Lucien and Wayne Cramp. I learned about what that show was. I've seen it once, one episode only one time, and saw the show only one time overall, period. And I was wondering what it was until I found out online, looking up at something on my iPad. And moving forward, we have Dora the Explorer characters. That's Dora right there, you see, and her friends Boots the monkey and Diego. Then we move on to the Rugrats. That's Chucky and Tommy and Angelica and the twins Lil and Phil. And there's Kimmy and Susie and Baby Dill right there. And moving on to the Wild Thornberries section, I figured that since I'm doing them next and that they're in... The Rugrats were in their side of the town in the movie called The Rugrats Go Wild, I thought it would make sense to create them next. So, anywho, there's the father, Nigel Thornberry, and the daughter, Eliza, and her mom, Marianne, and her friend, the chimpanzee named Darwin. That's his mustache. The nose is supposed to be his mustache, and the nostrils right there are underneath it, and the ears are his eyebrows. The eyebrows are his ears, rather. He looks like a chimpanzee, doesn't he? And there's Eliza's sister, Debbie, and there's Donnie, his brother. And in Jimmy Neutron, there's Jimmy and his dad, Hugh, and mom, Judith. Then his friends, Carl and Sheen, and other friends, and his love interest, Cindy, and her friend, Libby. You can do either hairstyle in either favorite color. I kind of actually like the other color and her hair better according to the show. But I can always go back and change it later on whenever I feel like it. So, moving on, that's Carl's dad, Ebenezer, and mom, Martha, and some of Jimmy Neutron's other friends, Nick Dean, Brittany, and Nick's friend, Butch, best friend, Butch. And there's Jimmy's enemy, Eustace. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And there's Eustace's butler named Blix, and that's Ultra Lord right there. And moving forward to the Despicable Me characters, that's Gru and his daughters, Agnes, Edith, and Margot. And we have the Minions. They really don't have any specific names that I could give them, so I just called this guy Minion, Minion 2, Minion 3, Minion 4, and Minion 5. So there's the villain from the first movie, Vector, and from the second movie, that's his wife, Lucy, and the villain from the second movie is El Macho, and third movie is Baltazar, the villain of the third movie. And that's Gru's assistant, Dr. Nefario. He really looks like him, doesn't he? And a trio of the characters, the main characters from Fairly Odd Parents, that's Timmy Turner and Wanda and Cosmo. Then we move on to Doug Funny characters. That's the main character, Doug, you see there. And his dog right there is Pork Chop. And his friend, Skeeter. And his love interest, Patty Mayonnaise. Skeeter Valentine and Patty Mayonnaise, that's Doug's love interest, Patty Mayonnaise. And his dad, Phil, and Theda Funny. And there's Mr. Dink, the goofy but friendly neighbor, Mr. Dink. And there's his wife, Tippy Dink. And Doug's anti-enemy and bully, Roger Klotz. And there's BB, and there's Mr. Bone, the principal from Doug's school. He looks pretty grumpy, doesn't he? He's usually grumpy at times. Then we move on, Diary of Wimpy Kid bookend movie series. That's Greg Heffley and his mom Susan and Frank, and there's his youngest brother Manny and his oldest brother Roderick. He looks pretty cranky looking too. And there's his friend Rowley Jefferson, and there's the goofy kid Fregley. And the mustache is supposed to be his open mouth covering his teeth. And there's the Indian kid named Shrog, and Greg's anti-enemy and bully, Patty Farrell. And there's Greg's neighbor and Rowley's dad, Robert, or Bob Jefferson. I was thinking his name was Bob, and I nailed it. Both Bob and Robert mean the same names, after all. He looks pretty grumpy there, too. And there's Greg's grandmother, called Gammy, and Greg's love interest, Holly Hills. And from Blue's Clues, that's Steve. And now we move to the Sing characters, both characters from 1 and 2. There's Buster Moon, the koala, and the gorilla, Johnny. And there's Rosita the pig. Her sunglasses represents her actual ears, and same as a runt of the litter, the mustache represents her actual snout, and the nostrils, her nose up front. Nostrils on the front of her nose. And then we have Mina, the shy elephant. Her nose, you can see, represents her trunk, and I had to find the best one as possible, and that's her trunk there. And then we have Ash the porcupine. And speaking of Ash, I've been speculating a lot about this, but I am to believe that her ex-boyfriend Lance was starting to feel terrible and regrets cheating on her after watching her perform on TV, which makes me believe that he's thinking about reuniting Ash and apologizing to her for his past actions and mistakes, according to the search in Google from the AI review. It says, yes, it's plausible that Lance, after seeing Ash perform on TV, might be motivated to win her back, as his actions after Becky turns off the TV suggests he secretly appreciates her talent. Here's why. Lance's initial reaction. When Becky dismisses Ash's performance, Lance initially agrees, but then he quickly turns the TV back on to watch Ash again, implying he secretly enjoyed her performance. Becky's comment. Becky dismisses Ash as not being all that good, which could be a catalyst for Lance to want to win Ash back. Ash's talent. Ash is a crested porcupine in an alt-rock band, and her performance on TV may have highlighted her musical talent, which could be a draw for Lance. And Lance's character. Lance is portrayed as being in a relationship with Becky, but his actions towards Ash could suggest that he is not completely happy with Becky. And here are other reasons why, in the other snapshot I made. Initial disinterest. Lance and Becky initially watch Ash's performance, with Becky dismissing it as not that good. Lance's hidden interest. While Lance initially agrees with Becky, he secretly turns the TV back on after she leaves, indicating he might have been secretly enjoying Ash's performance. Possible consideration. This subtle act of turning the TV back on could suggest that Lance is perhaps reconsidering his feelings for Ash, or that her talent has sparked a new interest in him. And context. The scene occurs that Ash and Lance have broken up, which could further suggest that Lance is trying to win her back after seeing her perform. Now, I don't know about you, but I think it's very likely that Lance is going to try to reconsider his bad behavior and win her back. And hey, who knows? Maybe Ash and Lance will get back together again, date each other, and maybe even get married one day in the third movie, or maybe even spin-off. Those were just my thoughts. but I would love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comments section below. Anyway, moving on. You can see Mina's bouncing her body sideways. I learned that happens whenever you take a little long, not using the Wii U remote. Anyway, there's Mike, the mouse. I learned that on YouTube, on the shorts, I learned that Mike was in Sing Thriller, and I was relieved when I saw her when it was announced when he was with his current girlfriend Nancy, and so which makes me believe that there's a huge possibility that he'll be in the third movie. I was disappointed that both Lance and Mike himself weren't in the second movie. But moving forward, we have Gunter the pig, Rosie's sidekick dancer, and there's Mizuki from the theme park at Universal Studios called Sing on Tour, named Mizuki the Gazelle. And there's from Sing 2, Portia Crystal the wolf, and there's Nushi the lynx cat, Clay Calloway the lion, and there's Darius the yak, and Buster Moon's assistant Miss Crawley the alligator, and there's Jimmy Crystal, Buster Moon's enemy and critic. He looks pretty grumpy looking too. And there's Suki Lane the dog, and Buster Moon's buddy Eddie the sheep. Both the beard and her afro is his wool, and same to Nana Noodleman, Eddie's mom. And last but not least, we have 4 characters from Bojack Horseman. By the way, I'll admit, I'm not a huge fan of that show, because at first when I saw the commercials for it, I thought that show and Bojack himself looked kind of strange looking. But hey, I had to create these characters because I actually kind of like that characters and Bojack himself. And hey, I love horses after all. So we have Bojack Horseman right there, obviously, and there's one of his friends, Todd. I believe that's one of his friends, and his assistant, I believe that's his assistant, named a cat named Carolyn. She's pink, and those wrinkles you see are actually supposed to be her whiskers. And then we have one of Bojack's other friends, Diane. Well, that's all the Miis that I have created for now. Before I wrap up this video, stay tuned for next time when I make more Mii characters in my next video. I'm thinking about making characters from the Peanuts next. I'm also going to be making characters from the Kung Fu Panda movie series. I'm not sure exactly when I want to do that, but I definitely know it's somewhere around soon. And that concludes this whole video. Thank you so much for watching this video. As you can see, I worked hard to make these characters into Miis, trying my best to match their faces as best as possible while looking at the pictures of each and every different character I searched on my cell phone. So I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoy making Mii characters in Mii Maker. If you like everything you saw in this video and have any ideas or requests on what Mii characters you would like to see me make, please feel free to leave your comments and leave a like in the comments section below. For now, this has been Avery speaking for this video, signing off, and I'll see you next time. Peace!